So like I was saying, I'm going to color code it so that you guys can use the formulas that we just wrote down. So my angle is going to be in blue. Then I also am looking at the biggest intercepted arc, which is going to be in green, and the small intercepted arc, which we have in red. So let's look at our formulas really fast, just a little refresher. So the one that I'm going to use is going to be our formula number 3. Notice how we have the angle equals to 1/2 the biggest intercepted arc minus the smallest intercepted arc. So that's a formula I'm going to follow. So I'm going to start by putting my angle. So my angle is 28 equals, my formula says 1/2 parentheses. Now we need the biggest intercepted arc, but we do not have it. But I can find it. Always remember, please do not forget that a whole circle is always 360 degrees. Because I don't have a value for the smallest arc, they just tell me it's y. I'm going to use that, I'm still going to use that, and I'm going to find the largest arc in terms of y. So if I had a number, I would usually subtract 360 minus that number to get my other arc. Because I do not have a value for the smallest arc, all I'm going to do is I'm going to put 360 minus y. That arc is 360 minus this arc right here. So now that we have our values, we're going to continue with our formula. Our formula says we're going to take the biggest intercepted arc, so that means 360 minus y, and I'm going to subtract it by the smallest intercepted arc, which is y. Okay, notice how I'm using the colors of the numbers from where I got it from the problem. So the next step, I am going to combine like terms inside of parentheses. So I can combine our two y's. Our 28 for right now is going to stay the same. Our 1/2 is staying the same. There's nothing to combine the 360 with, and we combine our two y's. So negative y minus y gives me a negative 2y. Next step is I want to get rid of the 1/2. So I have two options. I can distribute the 1/2, or to make it easier, I can just multiply times 2. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. Multiplying by 2 will cancel the 1/2, and I can multiply 28 times 2. That's going to give me 56. So that's going to equal to 360 minus 2y. Now we can continue to solve regular. So I'm going to get rid of the 360, so minus 360. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. So minus 360. Cancel that out. And then we have 56 minus 360, which gives you a total of negative 304 equals negative 2y. To get our answer, the last thing we do is we divide by a negative 2. So our final answer should be y equals 152. That's going to be the value for y. So you missed today, that's what you missed as the bell ringer. Some of the problems that you're going to see today, you guys are going to follow the same format. So please go ahead and save this, make sure you have it in your notebook. Now we're going to continue to solve one of the problems that you guys had on your assignment today. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to make sure I maximize it so you guys can see the whole problem. Okay, so we're going to work with problem number 1. I'm going to do the same thing I did previously. I am going to color code. So my angle is going to go in blue. My angle is going to go in blue. Then my biggest intercepted arc, I am going to put it in green. And my smallest intercepted arc, I'm going to put it in red. With that said, that's going to give me the formula. I'm going to use the same formula I used for the bell ringer activity. Notice how I have the angle. Notice how I have the biggest intercepted arc, but I'm missing the measure of the smallest arc, so I can use my formula. So let's figure that one out. Our bell ringer, we subtracted 360. We took away the small part on this problem. I'm going to take 360 and I'm going to subtract our biggest arc, our biggest intercepted arc. So I'm going to do minus 2 plus 124x. Very, very important, guys. When I'm subtracting more than one term, so here I have a 2 plus 124x, I have more than one term, it's very important that I distribute the negative to both numbers. If not, our answer is going to be incorrect. So I'm going to have 360 minus 2 minus 124x. We move on to combining like terms. I can combine those two, and that's going to give me 358 minus 124x. Now that we have all our components, I can go ahead and solve my problem. So I'm going to delete this, just erase it, and we're going to write our formula. Our formula says that our arc, so that means 70, equals to 1/2 parentheses our biggest intercepted arc, which is going to be 2 plus 124x. Our formula says I'm going to subtract that by the smallest intercepted arc. Now again, I have more than one term. Please put that in parentheses. So 358 minus 124x. Close parentheses. Close parentheses again. So let's work inside of our parentheses and try to combine like terms and get rid of all the parentheses that we have. So what I'm going to do is, remember, every time I have a negative outside parentheses, I distribute to both. My 70 is not going to change. My equal sign, the 1/2 is staying the same. I'm not working with the 2 plus 124x, so that's staying the same. Now, when I distribute the negative, that makes negative 358, and then a negative times a negative 124 makes a positive, so that's going to be a positive 124x, and we close our parentheses. So again, I have the 1/2 outside parentheses, so I have two options. I can distribute to every single term, or I can just get rid of it by multiplying by 2. So I think it's easier if we multiply by 2. Cancel that out. So I have 140 equals, now inside parentheses, I am going to combine like terms, everything that I can. So I'm going to start by combining my x's. So I have a positive 124x plus 124x. So that's going to give me a total of 248x. Now we can combine our numbers. So for our numbers, I have a 2 minus a 358. So that's going to give me a negative 356. And we move on to solving our problem. So I'm going to get rid of the 356. So I do plus 356 plus 356. Cancel that out. And we're left on this side with 496 equals 248x. Last thing we do is divide by 248. Divide by 248. So x equals 2. That's going to be our final answer. Okay, if you guys have any questions, please write them down and then we'll go over them in class. I'm going to erase all this and now we're going to work in a different problem. Okay, I want to work with you guys problem number 3 and problem number 4. So the first thing I want you guys to look at is, please excuse me guys, this computer. So problem number 3, look at how they're giving me angle 65. So there's many options as to how to solve this problem. They're giving you angle 65 right here. Please remember that every time that I have a linear pair or a straight angle, it forms 180 degrees. Every single time. They're giving me the 65. So I'm going to use that so I can find this angle and I can actually use one of the formulas that we have. So I'm going to do 180 minus 65, and that's going to give you guys your angle that we need to solve for this. So let's use our calculator. It's going to come out here. Let me move it out of the way so we can use it. There we go. So my calculator is here, so I'm going to do 180 degrees minus 65. That gives me a total of 115. So my angle is going to be 115. And now we're going to color code how we have it on our formulas. So my angle is always in blue. My intercepted arc is in green. So the equation that I'm going to use, let me move our calculator out of the way. So the equation that we're going to use is going to be the angle, so 115 equals 1/2 times the intercepted arc, which is going to be 24x minus 10. Okay, remember we have an option to get rid of the 1/2. So I can distribute or I can multiply times 2. I find it easier to multiply times 2. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. If I do 115 times 2, that's going to give me 230. Equals 24x minus 10. Okay, now we're going to solve for x. So plus 10 plus 10. So we have 240 equals 24x. Lastly, we're going to divide by 24. So our x equals 10. Okay, I hope this one was much easier than the other one. If you have any questions, please let me know. So I'm going to go ahead and clear this out. And now I'm going to do one more problem with you, which is going to be problem number 4. So I'm going to move my calculator to this side. I'm going to move this out of the way as well. So we're ready. So now for this problem, we're going to color code again. The angle that they're giving me is this one. So my angle goes in blue. Now, for this formula, notice how we have one of the arcs in red, the other arc is going to be in green. So the goal for this, to know which ones to color, is I want to color the arcs that would be forming the kissy fish with my angle. That's how I'm going to know which ones I'm going to use. So please be really, really careful with that. And our formula says our angle, so 51x minus 2 equals 1/2 parentheses our arc, so 145 plus our second arc, which is going to be 27x plus 1. Okay, so first things first, I want to get rid of the 1/2, so I'm going to multiply times 2. Now notice how I have more than one term. So I need to multiply everything on the left side by 2. So I'm going to do 51 times 2. So that's going to be 102 x. 2 times negative 2 is going to give me a negative 4. Put an equal sign. Don't forget that the 1/2 is gone. And I can combine like terms inside of the parentheses. So 145 plus 1 is going to give me 146. And I have a plus 27x. Only one x, so plus 27x. Now to solve, remember I need to move things around. So what I'm going to do is I am going to move the minus 4. So I'm going to do plus 4 on both sides. Cancel it out. I'm left with 102x equals 150 plus 27x. Now to get rid of the 27x, I'm going to move it to the other side. So opposite, minus 27x, whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. Cancel that out. So now let's use our calculator. And we're going to have 102 minus 27 equals 75. So I'm going to have 75x equals 150. The last thing we do, divide by 75. So our x is going to equal 2. Let's do 150 divided by 75. Just double checking our work, make sure we're doing it correctly. Our answer is 2. So x equals 2. Okay guys, I hope this helps. Make sure you guys are studying. So we'll see you guys tomorrow, and please work on these problems tomorrow during class. If you have any questions, make sure you guys are writing them down so you guys can ask tomorrow. Have a good day, guys.